Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and specifically welcome back to a game that made me feel sick. And no, I'm not talking about the fact that I played this game for 12 years and probably all of the stomach ulcers that it has induced and probably a little bit of hair loss along the way. No, this is where frankly the adrenaline got a little bit too much, and you'll see exactly why. Now, every game of World of Tanks that you play where you end up in a stressful situation kind of makes you a little bit stronger, or maybe a little bit weaker in some way. As long as you don't go pop, right? After you've played the game for so many rounds like I have, and you've got yourself into those one versus whatever scenarios, you've got yourself into more and more and more intense situations, you just start to be able to deal with them better and better and better. This is going to be probably one of the most stressful battles I think I've had in thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds of World of Tanks. It's going to have like a profound impact on me. What exactly happens? Yeah, just wait and see. So, today I'm playing in the M60. This is the Tier 10 American Reward medium tank, and do I recommend spending 15,000 bonds on this vehicle? No. Really, you'd probably do better putting bond equipment on something like an M48 pattern, then you can use that inside competitive game modes like Onslaught, just do better in the random queue. I think you'd save yourself a lot of hassle within that regard. Nevertheless, I think also the M60 is a lot of fun. I think it kind of has soul inside World of Tanks. Unlike something like a 121B. Honestly, the 121B, it's definitely better, I'd say, than the M60, but the 121B, it's just so indifferent to something like an Object 140. It just doesn't really feel as if you're playing a different tank. Whereas the M60 for me, it's kind of like blurring the line between an M48 and a Leopard, and both of those tanks have such fun playstyles that it's kind of awesome to be playing in a Leopard-esque tank that, sure, it doesn't have the camera rating, but it still has that lovely gun handling, has a good amount of DPM, but more importantly, it has enough armor that you can actually bounce things, and you don't get overmatched in the side and tracked nearly as often as you do. Well, you're going to get tracked, but the thing is that maybe some of the side armor on this tank, which is up to 73mm, might be able to hold off taking the damage as well as also losing your track. Now, the equipment that I'm using in this battle is pumping up the DPM. I'm using vents, I'm using a gun rammer, and you'll also see that I'm using a durability device to increase the hit points of this vehicle. Because the tank has amazing view range at 420 base, I've got a second build where I'll probably be taking vents with an exhaust and commander's vision system, or definitely vents and a commander's vision system on this tank. Because you've got so much base view range, 420, you have so much flexibility with even reducing the view range on this vehicle to be able to dump it into other statistics of this tank. And the M60, for me, it's always just one of those tanks that when I seem to play it, I just seem to have these fun, exciting, magical games. We've already had, I think, about 2 replays of the M60 featured on this channel just this year. One where I was one shot away from doing 10,000 damage, and I just keep getting myself into these really fun games with the M60. So it's a bit of a paradox, really. QuickyBaby's saying that the 121B is the better tank, but I would actually recommend spending bonds if you absolutely have them burning a hole in your pocket and you don't want to save them for the possibility of Wargaming releasing a new auction event where you get to spend bonds on possibly something a lot more exciting than this vehicle. Then sure, I'd recommend getting the M60 over the 121B. So in this scenario, I'm in a rather unusual position here, just behind a mouse which has clearly got themselves isolated. But as you can clearly see, I don't really want to go behind the mouse because I'll make myself so vulnerable to anyone who would push, or alternatively the vehicles who are above me. So instead, I'm just going to chill here. What this is going to do is it's going to proxy spot everybody who's up on the hill. It's going to stop them from getting over towards the ridge and finding my tank destroyers. And obviously with this mouse spotting, it's very likely that the Progetto and the Foch B want to try and crest that ridge to go after the rear vanguard snipers because they're glass cannons and they're easy to be able to penetrate. So I just decided, instead of just rushing up to that mouse, because I thought it would be a horrendous trap, to just chill here, wait, hold the hill for a little bit. But obviously, the possibility of farming a big fat German XP pinata here, or should I say damage pinata, as I don't really need experience on this tank anymore as I have all of the field mods, has got a little bit too much for me. And we're going to have a go at this mouse and also just take away their vision. A couple of rounds there, one to the back of the turret, one to the side of the tank, and now the heaviest vehicle in the game has decided, do they want to go after me or do they want to go after my team? Well, unfortunately for the mouse, by turning to me, they basically expose themselves to everyone on my team, and that meant that it was the easiest job for them to finish him off. And job done for the M60, and not even a single hit point lost. So in this scenario, I was rather disappointed to see that the FE4005 on the enemy team just shot down the 279E. And I'm thinking, shall I go and attack the 277? What can I do in this scenario? It's dead even. I've got 20% of my team's remaining hit points, and surely I have to invest them. So I thought a flanking play there, that was probably going to be quite stupid. All it takes is the 277 to all-in me, who is still on full health, or a Foch B to turn and face me, and I would be gone. So let's instead go and support the Waffenträger Auf E100, who's going after the Foch B and shutting them down. And also his brethren there in the form of the Jagdpanzer E100, who seem to be supporting them. Now, the WT Alpha E100 makes short work of the other auto-loading tank destroyer, but oh dear, there's a Progetto up here. Alright, they fired one. I can hear they fired two, and that means they fired three, so they only have one more shot. Unfortunately, the WT is now dead, but oh dear. This is an awkward scenario for you, sir. Slowly being pushed out in front of a Jagdpanzer E100 until he realizes it and starts to push back against me. But it was too little, too late for you, Mr. Progetto. I gave the Jagdpanzer E100 a big thumbs up, and we've got rid of the Tier 10 Italian medium tank. Pretty much full hit points with not too much lost. Now to nearly 4,000 damage, but this game is neck and neck. Sure, we're up by a tank. Sure, we're up by 1,500 hit points. Hopefully going to be 2,000 after this one hits. And oh, I love that. That FE405 has a mustache on the front. You got style, mate. I have to give you that. You're called Zeus of Juice. Brilliant. I like it. You are the god of juice, are you? Yeah, I'm gonna hope you're talking about OJ there, mate. Either way, great mustache there, Zeus of Juice in the FE405. Whether or not Zeus is gonna be the god of the late game of this battle remains to be seen. We might be seeing more of his mustache a little bit later on. Okay, so having dealt with the hill, having dealt with a mouse, this is just a classic game of World of Tanks, really. And while it doesn't look like it's going to be the most stressful situation here, things are about to take a turn for the worse. And that is because the enemies are going to get themselves into a real good defensive position in the corner of this map. And frankly, the platoon of guerrillas on my team, I think, are going to be a little bit nonchalant with how they decide to spend their remaining hit points. So, Minotauro here. I've got to try and get up as quickly as I can. Get a load of heat round here, but it's not really going to do anything. And oh dear, I lose my ammo rack against the Minotauro. I thought you said it was the guerrillas who were going to be loose with their hit points, QB, not you. Luckily, however, by locking down the Minotauro, that means that the Leopard's able to finish them off. And I try and load an HE round to go for the Grilla, but I can't actually manage to find the shot on the Tier 10 German tank destroyer. And unfortunately, Zeus of Juice flashes the mustache of the Leopard, and Royal First on our team cannot quite handle how dashing the FE4005 clearly looks. Mesmerized, can't do anything but just take the biggest round in the game and finishes off one of the vehicles on my team. Alright, so 277 just still on all of their hit points at this stage of the battle. Obviously decided to abandon the hill, but probably more going and getting into a defensive position to try and stop the onslaught from the west. Okay, so in this kind of a situation when they've got more hit points than us now, although we're up by a tank and they're just camping in the corner, why don't I force them to stop camping? And this is one of the only cap circles in the entire game where there's a big rock and you can hide behind it, which means that if you are the faster tank, then you could actually be able to kite slower tanks and guarantee a win in a 1 versus 1 scenario. However, there are not only 1 tank on the enemy team, there's 3 tanks on the enemy team, as we still have our work cut out for us, especially considering that a gorilla on the enemy team finishes off one of our gorillas without even getting spotted there. And suddenly, we're even, but we're down by 1,000 points. So I ask the Jagdpanzer E100 to try and help me in this scenario. I let them know that the 277 might be approaching. My thought process here is the 277 goes around the corner and then he'll slinky his way in here. And so I'm hoping that the Jagdpanzer E100 will be covering me. Or alternatively, the Grilla on my team could just come and sit in the cap circle and would probably put even more pressure on the enemy team to have to make a play and possibly win this battle. So I'm going to be locking down the vision on this corner here. I'm worried about their Grilla coming around the corner. Their Grilla is currently sitting on a 1-shot for the Gorilla on my team, but definitely not a one-shot for me. And Zeus of Juice looks like they've probably got about 400 hit points left. So again, not a one-shot unless I penetrate an HE shell. Here comes the 277. Clutch shot there as they come around the corner. And the Gorilla on my team doesn't disappoint by following it up. The Gorilla on the enemy team, very obvious in what they were playing there. And now we are surrounded with 10 seconds left. 9, 8, 7. I'm going to try and get away from the 277 here. But unfortunately, while that happens, the Gorilla comes around the corner. I'm going to get a shot into them, but I'm going to take 255 in reply. Looks like their Gorilla has actually left me now on 692 hit points, which could be huge in this battle. And oh dear, why did my Gorilla not finish off their Gorilla? Oh, he misses the shot. What a shame. And right now, with the FV4005, Zeus of Juice shutting down the Jagdpanzer E100 on my team. Oh my lord, I have a headache right now. They knock down the tree. The Gorilla knocks down the tree. Clearly they want to come around the corner. And what I'm having to do right now is use a third-person view to see which way the 277 is trying to chase me around the corners, trying to delay the game to allow the Gorilla to be able to engage them. But the Gorilla doesn't seem to want to be able to engage them. And now there's an FV405 trying to be able to come up on the hill above me. So I'm going to load a high explosive round. Going to put one round into them, go forwards, avoid the shell while also turning my tracks to be able to avoid the 277 on the team. Thinking about also the Gorilla coming around the corner, wondering why my Gorilla doesn't seem to be doing anything right now. Pinned by 3 different tier 10 tanks while also trying to cap out. And in this scenario, it's very important that you always look at which way the 277 is facing, because if you ever end up in a scenario when you're reversing away from a vehicle that's going forwards, you are going to be out of the game quicker than Zeus of Juice gets shut down there, and their mustache could not save them in this scenario. I'm kiting the 277 while demolishing the FV4005, worried about the Gorilla coming around the corner, as you can see, just hoping that my Gorilla is going to do something, and he does put 694 damage in, and with 15 seconds left, I think that I've got this. Maybe I can go after the 277, but unfortunately the Gorilla comes out, and I get lucky that he low rolls, but the durability device keeps me in the game, and I can finish off the 277, while the Gorilla now goes off towards our Gorilla, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to finish them off, but unfortunately the gun depression over the big old American booty that this tank has is not enough to be able to finish them off, and I have to admit, now I'm flustered. I'm thinking, do I go chase that scenario to go after the Gorilla, or do I trust that my Gorilla isn't going to fluff the shot? And I trusted that my Gorilla was not going to fluff the shot, and in retrospect, that was a little bit of a misplay. I will fully admit, while my adrenaline got me through the fight against the FV4005. It got me through the kiting for multiple minutes against the 277 and enabled me at least to keep my gun facing towards the Gorilla and put another round into them. It also probably put me in too much of a defensive scenario there. I should have gone with our Gorilla. I think if I'd gone with our Gorilla, I would have definitely been able to finish off their Gorilla in that scenario. Nevertheless, it's back to basics. It's back to sitting on a rock. It's back to literally... I'm feeling tense right now. Even though I obviously know what happened inside this battle, I'm feeling tense just reliving this moment as if it's some kind of past trauma. Seriously, that scenario of having your brain trying to figure out, keep eyes on the 277, while also thinking about the FV405 and the Gorilla, it was just a little bit too much. Nevertheless, with 15 seconds left and the Gorilla not coming around the corner, I decide that he's probably trying to make a flanking play. And with 8 seconds left, I'll probably proxy spot him, but he's behind me. Forwards quickly, you didn't manage to sneak up on me. And I felt great in that scenario. I think I needed to just blow off a little bit of steam with that round there. And shout out to my team who really got behind me at the end of this game. Even with the Gorilla saying sorry. It's okay. We got there. This was a stressor, ladies and gents, boys and girls. And luckily for me, the Gorilla wasn't quite able to deal with us. It's still amazing to me that after all of these years, literally over a decade of playing 80,000 games of World of Tanks, that it can still make me feel as if I'm playing for my very first time in a stressful scenario. And I think that's what the magic is of World of Tanks, right? It's the fact that you get yourself into so many different kind of situations, and it still has this magical power that no matter how mean it treats us, yeah, these kind of tense scenarios definitely keep me keen on trying to get that next adrenaline rush. So an ace tanker here for the M60 for our 1,272 base experience, but wow, that 279E on my team dealt 7,000 damage and they died about 5 minutes before me in this battle, so tremendous game for you as well. We get an invader medal for capping out the enemy's base, and we didn't fire too many gold rounds here, so we make a decent profit, even playing a tier 10 reward tank. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was a game that literally gave me so much adrenaline. I felt physically sick afterwards. I hope you enjoyed it on YouTube and it wasn't too much for you. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's soon time for the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, most of you have voted for the T110E5, and so why not come along and see the entirety of the American heavy tank branch, for which a lot of the tanks have recently been buffed, or in the case of the T29 nerfed. So come along and see if the American heavies are still worth playing in 2022. And let me know in the comments, what was your most stressful situation in World of Tanks history? And so, really looking forward to seeing you all live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.